Hey everybody, this is Brad Dyke reaching out to you, and today I'm just touching base on a kind of the software side of hardware, and that is in regards to the nature of how our homes are really truly beginning to become more IT based. Now, there are two ways homes become more IT than what they used to be. One, you have what's called the appliance approach. The appliance approach basically means that something inside your house most likely provides you some Wi Fi connectivity. And as you bring appliances into the house, these appliances will and can interconnect to your internet connection and provide you additional services. Could provide alerts and notifications for support related to maybe a problem with the refrigerator or your TV or something like that, that you could send support calls and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is that is what we call the appliance approach. Now, most Apple and Macintosh style quote unquote systems, cell phones, uh, little Apple devices, that like Apple TV, things like that, these are appliances. They're heavily rooted. In other words, they're very basic. There's not much you can do with them, but what they do fairly well. This is the same way with Apple cell phones. Apple cell phones, unlike Android cell phones, are more built like an appliance where you use them for a couple of years, then you go and buy the next one. Um, there are other appliances out there that might be a little bit more verbose or more capable, such as Androids, Google, and so on. But the point is, they're acting as an appliance environment. This can include clocks, uh, robots that might be in your house that you use for cleaning your floors, Roku's, any type of internet TV appliance box. All your TVs most likely do report to some degree, and even some of the most basic but most very fondly little Alexa style Bluetooth and integration Amazon appliance devices as well also fit that same genre as well. So that is one way. And it's been kind of there for probably 4 years, I would say now, more established in the past 4 years. This would also, by the way, include camera systems, bell ringers with cameras, and so on and so on. So now there's another side of the fence, like what many of my compadres out there that have like IT labs and so on. These are computer-based IT homes. And what they are is they're using real computer systems to accomplish something more than just simply appliances gathering intelligence on your home. um, for instance, there are laptops which can be repurposed, Raspberry Pis, antiquated server environments that could provide you capacity, compute, um, speed, access, scalability, and of course, the ability to interface sensors or other types of devices within the house to your computer system. That would include your furnace system and lights and so on. This is a little bit more structured, takes a little bit more skill, opposed to the standalone appliances you can put in your house that might require internet connectivity to function. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, my washer and dryer both are internet driven. Anyways, I digress. I am not a big fan of appliance networks. I like the strategy of controlling them, which I do. I use a fairly advanced firewall setup that basically tells me when somebody is doing something wrong with a double ply strategy. And I won't explain that because it's my own creation that adds an additional highly complex interface that really can perplex a hacker when they try to get into my environment. So all they find is nothing that's routable, which is pretty dead in the water. But with that being said, when you build these places out, there are going to be a couple questions you want to ask yourself. How far is it too far? And in both environments. Okay, well, I will say for appliance environments, and this was stopped a couple of different different formats, but it was stopped. What's called reciprocal camera style devices that have camera and microphone. When those are present, you should get rid of them. You really should. It's about trust. You are being asked to trust that vendor, not to misuse that. And as Amazon has proven with Alexa, and Microsoft and a few other companies have been proven, they broke the trust. They collected data, which they shouldn't have. Browser history collection processes. Browser history does not mean internet browsing. It means all data related to your interactions with your appliances, with your communities, with your TV interfaces, and so on and so on. All forms. They want to know what you buy. They want to know what you watch. They want to know how long you watch. And they want to know, what do you eat, drink, handle, do while you are interacting on these things. It's all about demographics and correlations, and they can use that to their advantage to try to sell you something else. That is really where you want to draw the line when it comes to internet-based housing and the value of internet-based housing. Now, we have to be fair here, right? Well, what about that? That computer-based, house IT setup. Very good. That's very pragmatic of you to think that way, because computers do things differently, but in a similar format. Now, as if you know, laptops have cameras and microphones built into them. Servers don't. But servers have some very dangerous things inside them as well, especially if you have Lenovo chassis. The trick is here, and I'll explain this kind of clearly for you. You have to pick the devil you want to work with. Okay? If we buy US-based technologies, the NSA and the United States government have keys to all the encryption states of all those devices. This allows them, if they put you into an investigation, and they want to know specific activities you're doing on a system or a platform and so on, they would use their ability to get into your environments, look at your data, but they would only do that, supposedly, if they have a warrant and a justification. In other words, a criminal activity, in a nutshell. Sometimes, investigation teams cross many innocent people as they chase criminals. And, they want to be able to streamline that process with less warrants and so on and so on. So when they hit your environment and they realize, well, are you a criminal or not? Let me, forget the warrant. I'm just going to break in with the keys, take a look. Okay, no, he's okay. We're going to move on. No, that's wrong. That was absolutely wrong. They disregarded you. Even if they eliminated you off of their criminal list, they disregarded your personal rights, your confidentiality, and you did not have the right to go into that computer. You did not have the right to go into that cell phone. You did not have that right to go in and read private messages, because you see, the law enforcement officer made a decision, which was a human-based decision. It is a human being after all. And when that officer of the law reviews your stuff without concurrence by the government's judicial system, then he's breaking the law, or she. So it can be equally as dangerous to use technologies like servers, NASs, computer laptops, Raspberry Pis, and so on, because very few things get put into our commercial network of available products without the ability of the NSA or other organizations, FBI and so on, having the availability of getting the PGP code or the encryption stack necessary to decrypt your information and see what's on your system. And it sounds intrusive. It is. It sounds like a flagrant disregard for who you are. It is. And can this happen also on the appliance side? Oh, absolutely. Now, I will give Apple credit. I'm not a big fan of Apple, but I give Apple credit. They don't want anyone in their encryption. And they'll just assume drop the product altogether Stop making it so they don't have to stand that trial. And I don't blame them. That's really saying, you're sticking to your guns and you're trying to be genuine to the obligations you made to your customer base. So understand that as this video talks about how do you secure your environment and also have the values and benefits of an internet-based home. And the most safest way to do it is to understand what you're putting online. I'll give you clarification. You notice I mentioned Lenovo. I didn't say Lenovo's PCs. I didn't say laptops. I didn't say servers or any other version of Lenovo product lines. It's everything Lenovo. There's a microchip on the actual logic board that allows the manufacturing source, and in this case it's China, to be able to access remotely that device. Don't get mad. In their country, that's fine. But in our country, it's not. We have our own chipsets. We call them remote connect administration chipsets that allow us to remotely administrate our environments. We've co-integrated them into our enterprise environments. It is a great tool to use because you can manage a great deal of targets out there at once. But there are some subversive actions that are involved with that process, specifically such as turn on without presence. Now, turn on without presence means I can activate your server, but make it look like it's not running and get to your data. There are several other potential twists and turns at which you could do with such strategies. But the bottom line is that you really need to know what you got your hands on. Now, if you really have old equipment like 1999, 2002, you'll be okay. But most of that equipment is either way too slow to work within our environments or antiquated or just basically failing because it's too old. Is there anything out there you would say that is less evasive? Yes. Simple devices like printers and so on are fine. But please understand that if you don't take the steps to set up your devices with passwords that are not the default password of the retailer, it doesn't matter how productive you are. You've given the keys to the Cadillac, because you see the default password is how they ship everything out. So when you get it, you then need to change the password. And then that's the only time your device is truly secure. Now, does that mean the password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to work? No. It doesn't work like that. You follow the 8.2 standard on passwords. That's basically more than 8 characters. A point represents a special character and at least 2 numerical values that are not the same. And that basically would give you a decent level of time before your password would be cracked. If you went to 10 to 12 to 15 additional characters, that would give you a great more span of time, but nevertheless, it's still just a fairly simple device with a fairly unsophisticated security system. But the other thing I can recommend to you is do not use your hardware necessarily like everyone else does. This is the last critical piece of advice, especially if you're an IT-based kind of internet house versus an appliance-style internet house. Appliances, you don't have a choice, pretty much. It's just going to be what it is, and that's it. And you enjoy it while it lasts, and then when it breaks, go buy a new one. Over here on the IT side, it's quite different. Many of us in the IT industry, we deploy stuff by default as a standard, or what we call best known practices. And then once we've done that and all of our systems are running the same model on the best known practices, all of a sudden all of our systems got hacked the same way. Why? Well, the best practices is a recommendation as a functional model, but not your model. That's where most of us make the mistake. They'll do the best practices and say, okay, I'm secure. Well, no, you're not. 10,000 of you are secure the exact same way. So what you have to do is, as soon as you got your best practices in place, just do a little bit more research and augment the structure of your deployment, just to a certain degree. Usually an associated rotation in user account IDs versus the nature of MFA versus transitional non-MFA, and so on and so on. So, with that, what ends up happening is kind of like this. Okay, so I had a whole bunch of guys actually, who were going to come in and they were going to hack our sites, and they swear on a stack of Bibles that day they'll put their website on our web servers and walk away and have us holding our beers and all that good stuff. Didn't happen, and they were so pissed at us because they thought we fell flat on our faces, deployed to best practice standards, and turned and walked away thinking that we were safe. And they knew we would have made that mistake, and they went after us, and they discovered that maybe we weren't so dumb after all. So they finally said, we give up. We can't replace your website. You are absolutely 100% secure. How did you do this? It's just not possible. And you know what I did? Pretty simple, actually. I just, I'll show you. I showed them the website. I told them we had it right here with us. And they're like, what do you mean you have it right with you? I don't see a computer anywhere. I said, you're right, you don't. You know what you do see? In my hot little hand? A CD-ROM read-only CD. And they were looking at me like, what? And I said, yeah. You see, what we did is we did follow best practices. We did. But what we also did, we took a copy of our website and put it on a CD-ROM. And we had a really good high-performance CD drive and made that the path for our website. So you've been hitting a CD-ROM over and over and over and over, and you just couldn't figure out that it was a read-only media that could never be changed no matter how hard you tried. And they were flabbergasted, and they said, good job. You beat us. So you don't have to get extravagant. You don't have to do wild and crazy things. You can just simply do this in a way so it's just slightly different. And if it's slightly different, you're going to find yourself just a little bit more secure and a little bit more protective. The last piece of advice I will give to everyone here tonight is very simple. If you have nothing to hide, then hide nothing. In other words, don't act like you have something to hide, unless you do. If you do have something to hide, well, you're on your own. But the truth of the matter is 97% of the populations of this earth are usually pretty good people. And a computer is just a computer to order food and, read the news and so on. So the truth of the matter is, so many times when people get on computers to analyze them for fraud or whatever, they discover pretty quickly that, yep, he is not doing anything off. He's just using a computer to order Chinese. It's true. So honestly, if you got a good heart and a good soul, you got nothing to hide. So don't be afraid. And, anything that's truly financially valuable, anything such as passwords and so on, secure them with heavy encryption or just get them off the computer altogether. It's very simple. Don't ever use your cell phone to handle banking transactions and so on. That is what drives the theft industry today, which is pretty sad personally. But use secure computer systems to access your destination sources and so on. And this will get you to a good place fairly quickly in your life, where your devices are actually supporting you and giving you everything that which you want to have in your life. And that is service for the equipment that you spent money on. Well, this is Brad Dyke. I'm going to sign off, guys. I hope you guys like this. This is mostly about security this go around. I try to do 2 or 3 videos periodically a month so that you guys can have some traction and see my ugly mug. I hope some of this helps. Don't spend money for this kind of stuff. There are people out there like myself who are trying to provide you this information up front, free. All you have to do is just get to YouTube to watch it. Well, take care. God bless, and have a great weekend.